Okay, boys, so I got a message on Instagram. Thank you for your message, brother. He asks how to get more protein with home cooked foods. And he says he's 18% body fat. I need to get shredded without losing muscle. So I just want to be completely honest. I'm not shredded, so I'm probably not the person to ask for advice in this area. But I am 18% body fat, so I'm pretty much the same body fat as you. And my goal is to get down to 15% body fat. So I'll talk about both aspects, but I've just got a philosophy on getting shredded. I used to think, oh yeah, you want to get really low body fat and be like chiseled, veins popping out everywhere. But I guess my question to you would be, why do you want to get shredded? Because I didn't realise this, but speaking to my friend, he said any lower, I would define shredded as between 8 and 12% body fat. So 8 is really, that's really low. But 10 to 12% body fat I would say is shredded. But I didn't realise when you start getting down that low, your testosterone and your hormones they're not quite as balanced. So it's actually detrimental. So for like bodybuilders that are preparing for shows, they're actually unhealthy levels of body fat to go down to. So my goal was 12% body fat, but I've adjusted it now to 15 because I think that's optimal between hormone balance and how you look. So I still think at 15% body fat you'll look good and you'll have abs showing, but you're not so low that it's a problem for hormones. Another thing to consider is, I don't know how this works, but something to do with your immune system is stored in fat tissue, adipose tissue. So if you get down too low, if you get too shredded, you might start having sort of immune system issues, and you might get colds and flus more often. So being that low body fat is not actually, there are some issues with it. So my question would be, how shredded do you want to get? And I think 15% body fat on a man looks good. I don't think you need to be, unless you're like a model and you're taking pictures for magazines or you're competing, then I don't think it's necessary. I think it's sort of like one of these, you see it on Instagram over and over and you think that's what you've got to achieve. And I think it's an unhealthy goal to aim for. So I was initially thinking I need to get to 12% body fat, but now I think 15 is a good balance between looking good and being healthy and longevity. So the first question was how to get more protein with home cooked foods. So I've got a bit of a philosophy on cooking food. People want to eat meals that are nice, that have loads of ingredients, that have a lot of flavour, and like home cooking, they want to eat a variety, all different things on different days, so different meals. And my philosophy is that there are only a handful of real foods, and meals are like a concept we've come up with. So cooking meals that taste good is a new thing. We would have just eaten food for nutrition for the body. So now that's how I eat, and I still really enjoy the foods I'm eating, but I don't try and make them different every day, and I don't try and make them like taste good with loads of different flavours. So I'm posting on my Instagram stories and YouTube community posts, I'm putting up pictures of my daily, like what I eat in a day. And you'll notice, I saw this on a Hamza video actually. He says one of his, like one of the guys that commented on his video said he follows a 12 ingredient diet. And I've never really thought of it like that. But that's kind of how I eat. Everything I eat is a single ingredient. And there's only about 12 to 20 different ingredients I eat. So I'll eat beef, either beef mince, beef steak, liver, heart. So various types of beef. Different fruits. Berries are good because they're low glycemic index. So berries. What else have we got? Raw cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano. But they're all single ingredients, and I'm not trying to make a meal out of them. So You say how to get more protein with home cooked foods. If you want recipes that taste nice and that have loads of flavour, that isn't personally how I do it. I choose to use beef. I use grass-fed beef. If you can get grass-fed beef, it's a lot better, because there's issues with animals that are fed on corn. So a lot of chicken you'll find will be fed on corn, and so will beef. But I've opted for beef. I think it's the optimal meat to implement for high protein and nutrition, and it's anti-inflammatory. And you want to go for high fat percentage beef. So I use 20% fat beef mince or ground beef, because high fat doesn't mean you're going to put on fat. Fat as a macronutrient is essential, and it's very useful for the body. So when people buy like low fat yogurt and low fat milk, it just makes no sense. You need fat, and fat is not a problem. So if I was you and you're trying to add protein to the diet in a cost effective way, if budget's a problem, then ground beef mince is a very good way of doing it. So 20% beef mince, I get it from a local farm that's grass fed. Grass fed does make a difference in my opinion, but I use probably 500 grams a day, and if I eat that, that's like I eat it 3 times a day, or 2 or 3 times a day, and if I can get 500 grams of ground beef in my diet, then I'm happy with that. That's like my baseline for the day. Another good addition is eggs. So I don't really track macros that much, but you can get the majority of what you need from beef and eggs, in my opinion. So you can do nuts and seeds, but I wouldn't be using protein powders. I can't remember the exact facts of this, but I think it was Paul Chek said that whey is a byproduct of the cheese making industry. So when you buy protein powder, they're just selling you a byproduct that they would have had to have disposed of anyway. So that seems a bit questionable to me. So yeah, I wouldn't be doing protein powder. I want to get protein from real foods. So to increase protein with home cooked foods, I would use grass-fed beef mince, 20% fat, and eggs. Now, and I would eat the same thing every day, and I wouldn't try and make palatable, tasty meals, because it's just food, it's nutrition, and it tastes good anyway. A bit of salt, that's about as far as I'll go. But, so yeah, that's protein. The other part is, I'm 18% body fat, how do I get shredded? So, I haven't done that yet. I've gone from 30% body fat to 18, so I know how to do that. But I'm going to implement the following things to get from 18% to 15%, so they might be useful to you. And I think this could get you down as low as you want, but I wouldn't go much lower than 12%. I don't think there's any upside to doing that. So you want to do the obvious things like staying hydrated. You say you don't want to lose muscle. Well, muscle tissue is around 70% water. So if you're dehydrated, then it would make sense that muscle tissue is going to there's going to be a detrimental effect. So stay hydrated. So you need 2.4 litres of water a day. 8 hours of sleep a day. Stress hormone, cortisol, running through the body is going to have a degenerative effect. So if you want to retain muscle, you need to manage the stress that you have, and sleep well will help lower cortisol. So that's another big thing. If you want to maintain muscle, you need to stimulate muscle through high intensity training. And I would use Mike Mentzer. If you look into Mike Mentzer style training, that's how I would do that. And then you need to eat real food and not processed food, because high sugar and processed food is going to stimulate the body to store fat, whereas real nutritious foods are going to build muscle. If you think logically, the body is not going to waste high quality nutritious foods like beef and eggs and fruit storing fat. It's going to put it into muscle, ligaments, tissue, like useful cells. So you need to work out, if you're trying to lose fat, work out what your BMR is, your basal metabolic rate, and then I've actually found I can maintain my BMR, so I can eat a maintenance amount of calories and still lose body fat. And I think it's because your body's in recomposition. It will build muscle while losing fat. So you could just eat your BMR, like eat the amount of calories that your BMR is, or I would go between 200 and 300 calories below that. So be in a 300 calorie deficit, eat real foods, and I would eat within a time restricted eating, so intermittent fasting. So you'll make sure you're eating in meals and you're not snacking throughout the day. I would have 3 meals a day, 9 a.m, 12 o'clock noon, 3 p.m. That gives your body all that time between 3 p.m. and 9 a.m. to be in, you probably won't hit ketosis, but you'll be burning fat. And it's muscle sparing because you've eaten good nutrition and now you've got that fasting window. Between your meals, there's going to be at least 2 hours between meals, which allows the insulin spike to come back down, which means you're not going to store fat. So you're going to use the food as fuel for your muscles, and then you're going to not store fat because insulin is going to be regulated. So normally when people say they want to cut body fat, they want to do it quickly. They want the quickest way of doing it. Now, if that's the case for you, something you could implement is being strict carnivore or keto. So however you want to do it, but you've just got to get into ketosis. And I find the easiest way of doing that is just eating meat. So I wouldn't do this for prolonged periods of time because it is a restrictive diet. But if you want to cut body fat quickly, eat 300 calories below your maintenance level and get them calories just from meat. So you could do this just with beef. You could do it with beef and eggs. Eating beef 3 times a day and you'll get into ketosis, which is a low carb diet, and you will burn body fat very quickly. I like to include carbs because muscle uses sugar as fuel. So your workouts are going to be better and you're going to feel fuller for the workouts and have more energy. So if you're trying to do it quickly, use carnivore and keto. If you're trying to do it over a longer period of time and in a healthier way, I would say, then I would eat meat and fruit, and you can use raw dairy as well, so raw cheese. But just eat within the 3 meals. And then I would add a 30-minute walk each day. That helps with digestion. So when you're walking, you're moving. There's muscles in your digestive system that move food through the body. And if you're sitting down all day or you're not very active, then walking can help regulate that. But yeah, so bit all over the place. But that's how I would do it, and that's how I'm going to do it. I'm 18% body fat now, and my goal is 15%. And I'm going to implement those things to achieve that. So, hope that helps.